Every so often, there is a moment in time that has the potential to change everything. This is one of those moments. You just simply replace I can't with how can I. It's not your fault when unfair circumstances knock you down. But it's always your responsibility to pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and move yourself forward. If you're going to think like MacGyver, if you're going to switch from I can't to how can I, say yes, yes? Okay, now it's time to get to work. Okay, this might come as a surprise to some of you who just know me from this podcast. Maybe others have heard other parts of my story before, but when I was 6 years old, I developed a pretty severe stutter. And it got progressively worse and worse and worse until by the time I was 7, I could barely string 2 words together without stuttering. It was one of the most frustrating moments of my entire life. Here I was, 7 years old. I had tons of things to say and I just couldn't say them. I had all these jokes and different ideas and I wanted to make friends. And how do you make friends and you can't talk to them? I played sports, so that was helpful, but this was a really tough time for me. 2 days a week, I would get out of class early and I would go to speech therapy. And there were 2 PhD speech pathologists there, and we would do a bunch of different speaking exercises and read books and do all this stuff. And they would always tell me, you're making such great progress, you're doing really well. Okay, cool. But it really wasn't cool. I kept stuttering. I wasn't getting any better. 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, no progress. Fast forward to my 10th birthday. I decided to have a pool party and I invited kids over and set up for this pool party and I was so excited, and I get to my own pool party and we're swimming and playing Marco Polo, and kids can be pretty cruel. So imagine we're playing Marco Polo and I'm struggling to say Marco. I'm stuttering, Marco. And the kids would mock me. They go, Polo. And so I'm sitting there with my eyes closed, trying to fake a smile like it doesn't bother me. That didn't last very long. That did not last very long. I ended up leaving the pool. You know, it's my party, I can cry if I want to type situation, and everybody went home. When I went back to school, I marched right into speech therapy and I told them, we need to fix this. I can't continue with this stuttering. We've got to fix it. And they sat me down and they said, John, I want you to understand that you are going to stutter. You are most likely going to stutter for the rest of your life. And we can help you by giving you tactics and techniques to cope with this. You can do this. And that's when I knew I had to quit. I told them no, I thanked them for their time, and I never went back. So now what? I'm 10 years old. I need to figure this thing out. I have no idea how to do it. But I decided to commit myself to overcoming this challenge, to dedicate my whole life to it. I made a decision. That moment, I decided, I said, you know what, this is going to happen. I made it a priority. Nothing was more important. Not playing outside, not doing sports, not watching TV, cartoons, none of that stuff. None of that stuff was more important. This was my number one priority. I had to figure this out. And also I had to force myself to believe that I actually could. Well, I'm glad I did. Here's what I ended up doing. I determined that there were 3 things that I could do without stuttering. One of them was when I rapped or when I sang, I didn't stutter. So I'd walk around the house and I would rap and I would sing. I'd make up all sorts of songs around the house. Like if I needed a sandwich or something like that, I would sing it. The second thing I noticed is when I mimicked the nightly news anchor, I didn't stutter. So I would record the news, and then this was back in the day when you had VHS. So I'd record the news and I would take it and put it in my room, had a little old VHS player, and I would play it back and I would mimic the nightly news anchor. A house fire killed 7 of Pacoima County. James has the story, James. Every day. Every single day I watch the news just to copy it. And the third thing is when I visualized myself speaking, I didn't stutter. So I would read any book. I don't care if it was Cat in the Hat or a romance novel. I would grab it and read it, and I would imagine myself speaking on stage in front of thousands of people. I was always awesome. Everybody loved to hear me speak, and that was my thing. And these are the 3 things that I did relentlessly for just about a year. Just about a year before I started seeing progress. After a year, all of a sudden, I could put 4 words together without stuttering. 6, 8, 10. I could talk for 30 seconds, a minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And the progress kept going and going and going. So I kept visualizing. I like to tell people I still stutter now. I just put about 500,000 words in between each one. I'm still making progress. Now, what I love about this story is I took my biggest weakness and turned it into my biggest strength. If back then I would have asked people, what do I do best with the least amount of effort? Nobody would have said speaking. Nobody would have said storytelling or talking. None of that. No way. But when I ask dozens of people the same question today, what do I do best with the least amount of effort? It's not even a question. So today, I want to talk to you about relentless repetition. And it's important that we use the word relentless because it's hard to do something over and over again when you suck at it. It is. It's tough. And that's where most people fall apart. And also, there's a way to do and master the art of repetition when you actually make progress versus just doing it over and over again and you're not making any progress. There are people who waste days, weeks, months, even years of their lives because they do this wrong. So I want to make sure that you're not one of those people, that you do it right. So here is the playbook for relentless repetition. The first thing you got to do is you got to decide. But you can't just decide. You have to decide with integrity. And that simply means when I say this, I say I'm going to do this, I mean it. I really, really mean it. And you're only going to mean it if it's important to you. You're only going to mean it if this is something that you really, really want. This is not for someone who kind of wants to learn a new language or kind of wants to make more money or kind of wants to get better at this skill set or kind of wants to improve their sales skills or kind of wants to get into a new business venture. Not for you. Think about that thing that you really, really want. And then you make a decision that you're going to get better, period. But you have to decide with integrity. The next thing is priority. Clearly, you have to make it a priority. And I'll remind folks, when you say yes to something, you've got to say no to everything else. At that time, when you say yes to this thing, you're going to say no to everything else, or not now to everything else. You have to do that. What if instead of visualizing, what if instead of mimicking the nightly news anchor, rapping or singing around the house, I went out and just played ball and went and did sports and did all that stuff? That's cool. Maybe I'd be a little bit better at sports, but I'd probably still be stuttering. Have to figure out what's important. If it's something that you really want to do, then priority is not difficult. Deciding with integrity is not difficult. Making it a priority, saying no to other things and not now to other things, that's not difficult at all. The hardest step, the most critical step in this entire process, belief. You will not be able to do this if you don't believe that you can. If you start working out at the gym and you've been for 2 weeks and you look in the mirror and you say, I don't like the way I look and I don't think this is working, you're not going to continue to do it. But some of you may be sitting there going, okay, I got number 1, I decided with integrity. I got number 2, I prioritize this thing, but I truly don't believe. I don't believe I can do it. I failed so many times, I don't believe I can do it. Okay, for those people struggling with belief, let's break this down. The thing that you're trying to achieve, it might be so bold, so crazy that you are having trouble actually believing that you can do it. You want to do it real bad and you're passionate about it, but you don't actually believe. And so you're sitting here going, well, this is not going to help me because I don't believe. Allow me to attempt to help you by changing the perspective. Here's what I want you to believe. Believe that you can get a little bit better today than you did yesterday. A little bit better tomorrow than you did today. Can you believe that? Because that's all you need. Oh man, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not sure that I'm good enough. I'm smart enough. Look, the reality is you may not be good enough. You may not be smart enough, but that's the beauty of this whole thing. You don't have to be. You just have to be a little bit better today than you were yesterday. Here are the steps. Step number 1, do it for the first time. Step number 2, learn from it. Step number 3 is pick one thing out of all the things you learned, pick one thing that you can implement the next time. And step 4 is do it again. Learn from it, 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 do it again. And if you keep doing that, if you keep getting a little bit better today than you were yesterday, one day you'll look back and all of a sudden, you'll get it. Remember, it does not get easier. You just get better.